Work is done here, says Baylor junior wide receiver Corey Coleman. Confirmed Saturday following their loss to Texas that he'll skip his final season in Waco and enter the NFL draft. Coleman set career best 74 catches, over 1,300 yards, 20 touchdowns this season, and he is one of 3 finalists for this season's Biletnikoff Award for the nation's top receiver. So you got Baylor and North Carolina in Orlando for the Russell Athletic Bowl. Through all the quarterback injuries, John, the Bears still lead the nation in scoring.
Crazy.
48 points per game. Of course, North Carolina, they can run it up there pretty good at 41 per game. In fact, 5 of the top 10 scoring offenses in the country are in the Big 12. And the FBI still really likes Baylor. They rank the Bears 4th overall by that FPI dynamic. So it is Baylor and North Carolina. Corey Coleman's going to be there. Who's going to throw him the football? Yeah. We don't know. Yeah. I mean, you had the injury to Seth Russell. Jarrett Stidham gets banged up. The other day, Chris Johnson goes out with a concussion. Now, it's possible that we could see Stidham coming back from his injuries. Yeah. Might see Chris Johnson. It was Lynx Hawthorne the other day. Where do you think Baylor is in the Wildcat and trying to throw the football? And he performed admirably.
Yeah, no, he did. But I started thinking about it. If Stidham doesn't play and Chris Johnson comes back, by the way, I don't know how he got up after some of those hits he took in the Texas game. And I think we're going to see one right here where he gets lifted up and then takes one right into the sternum. But I think they're going to have a quarterback healthy enough to play. All I'll say, though, is this. When you got a month to prepare, if there's one guy that could probably figure out a modified offense in the next 3 weeks,
got the right guy.
Probably got the right guy to do that. So I think they'll have a quarterback healthy enough to play, and they'll have the right sequence of plays called to put up enough points to beat North Carolina. The question is, defensively, are they going to be able to stop that ground attack?
Yeah, Marquise Williams, awful good quarterback for North Carolina, and they're multiple. Larry Fedora, obviously very good. But I think with Baylor, you worry about the psyche a little bit. Totally. Losers of 3 of their last 4, such high expectations that they were going to be the Big 12 representative in the college football playoff. And, John, their turnover margin over their last 4 games, you ready for this? Minus 12. I mean, they've got 15 giveaways, 3 takeaways. Now, quarterback has been an issue, but got to hang on to the football. How do they regroup at this point, I guess?
I think at this point, you got to kind of rally around the effort that you have to give in 3 weeks, right? Yeah. I mean, getting out there and you want to take kind of that next step into recruiting and into spring ball. You're obviously very disappointed. So I think this is the art of the science for Art Briles is how do you take a team that's lost 3 games, considering they thought they were going to be in the Big 12 title race, potentially competing for a national title. How do you manage that to get them in this game, not only get them in the game, but win the game and try to win it convincingly? So I think that's the biggest thing for them. You can't go in there and start preaching about you're talking turnovers all the time anyway.
Right.
If you go in there and you keep hammering on turnovers, it's probably going to happen.
Then it's in your head.
It's in your head because it's stuck. So I don't think you're going to fix that by coaching. They're just going to be smarter with the football and hopefully get a healthy quarterback.
And, of course, one of those losses down the home stretch by the Bears was to the Horned Frogs in the muck and the mire in Fort Worth at TCU.
Side kick there, and what could have happened if they'd upset Clemson. Still had to go down the field, but regardless, the Tar Heels will be playing in the Russell Athletic Bowl December 29th, 5:30 Eastern on ESPN. They're taking on the Baylor Bears. Another what-if here. 4th in the Big 12, 6th straight bowl appearance. I think of these 2 teams, Robert. I think of Baylor and the fact that, again, a month ago, this is one of the top teams in the country, decimated by injuries, especially at the quarterback position.
Unbelievable. You start the season with Seth Russell, you go to Jarrett Stidham, then you go to Chris Johnson, and then he gets hurt. And I mean, you've got Hawthorne, one of the wide receivers, playing quarterback. Really unbelievable. But what a job Larry Fedora did this season with this team. And we've talked about the defense being able to turn things around. And look, defense wasn't great this year, but it was much better than it was last year. Giving up 500 yards a game a year ago. And with Marquise Williams, for the most part this season, playing pretty solidly and not turning the ball over for most of the year, it was a lot of fun to watch this North Carolina team.
I think it was a terrific year for them, and obviously it was very exciting. It went right down to the end, and I think you still have to question that onside kick call. It's one of those that you have to bite it and live with it, and it's going to be a tough one to swallow. But I think that Larry Fedora has been able to do there in the last couple of years. I think that it's been a major accomplishment there at North Carolina. But I think the key for the North Carolina Tar Heel fans, show up to your games. We watch those games all year long, and there are a lot of empty seats in that stadium. Support your team because you've got a great coaching staff and a really good football team.
Well, the academic stuff is behind them. They've got Larry sewn up for the future, so that's really good. Smart by Bubba Cunningham, and they've done a great job of handling all the stuff that's been around the program. And bringing in Gene Chizik was a home run because they have played a lot better defense. And for Baylor, Seth Russell stays healthy, they may be in the 4. I mean, it shows you how hard coaching is. And then you go to Stidham. and then you go to Johnson. And then you go to who? Hey!
Lynx Hawthorne, come on up.
Who else is taking snaps?
Coach was saying yesterday, we're watching the game, he's going, it's pretty bad when they put up a graphic that the last time you took a snap, you were in high school like 3 years ago or 4 years ago.
He's a receiver. Yeah. And they're going Wildcat. I mean,
and by the way, about the North Carolina situation, they need to change the rule. They need to change the rule to make that reviewable. It's a very difficult call for the officials to make. I talked to Dave Kadaya, who had been an official before, about this, because the officials got to watch the ball and see whether the ball is being kicked simultaneously. Did the guy get there first? It's a judgment call. It's really hard to make. And to have a situation in a game that's that important on an offside or on an onside kick, and there's a very clear line, just like the goal line, you can see whether any part of a player is by it. Make that reviewable. They need to change the rule.
Yeah, we won some that I didn't want them to review. I said, let's go, pick it up, let's go fast. And then we lost some that they missed. And what happens? You might as well give it up. I talked to a lot of my North Carolina friends today. It doesn't matter. The official messed it up, because if it's close, don't call it in that situation.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to be a factor. But what the problem is, today it's over. I mean, we'll talk about it today.
Right.
By tomorrow, we're all going to something else. It will not be talked about again.
Here it is again. Here, I mean, it's a tough pill to swallow. Certainly for a North Carolina fan. I mean, this is, as Robert said, if you just review it, right? Take a minute here. Let's discuss what happened here.
You review whether somebody was targeting. Right. Why can't you review whether a guy was in front of the line when the ball was kicked? I mean, think about what the official has to do from their line of sight. The kicker is coming in at an angle that makes it difficult to see whether he's kicked it or not, whether that foot is on the ball when a guy is coming across the line. So it's a very tough call to make. Don't just leave it on the official.
Yeah, why do we have some that are reviewable and some that aren't? Right. If it makes a difference in the ball game, we want the team that played the best to win. So if the guy upstairs says, hey, you got it wrong, guys, he's not offsides, then pick up the flag and let them play.
And it sure could have made a difference in the outcome of this game, where so much was on the line for both teams and the play.
Russell Athletic Bowl, December 29th rather, in Orlando. Number 10 North Carolina taking on number 17 Baylor. The Tar Heels might still be seething after the ACC championship game, controversial onside kick ruling. Why should we care about this game?
Well, it's similar to the previous game with Baylor. Are they going to be healthy? Because if they will, this is another track meet type game. We know that North Carolina can put up points. We know that Baylor, when it's healthy, especially at the quarterback position, can score. They lead the nation in scoring. They lead the nation in total offense. So that's going to be something to watch entering this ball game, Kerry. But I think North Carolina, their chance to complete this season, which ended with losses on the front and back end, but they could end up with 12 wins this year to really validate themselves as a new emerging power in the ACC Coastal Division. That's going to be big for them. And for Baylor, can they do something outside the league? We always harp on their schedule. Here's a chance to prove yourself against a strong out-of-conference opponent, but I think they're going to need to have some quarterback play, some quarterbacks healthy to do that.
There will be certainly a strong test for the Baylor Bears. Larry Fedora, UNC head coach, signing an extension a little while ago. All right, that game, 5:30 p.m. on ESPN.
This is about Baylor. And the problem is, for Baylor, they've been scheduling like they were Baylor 10 years ago, like they were really desperate to get into a bowl game and try to get some relevance for their little team out there in Waco. Well, that's not the case anymore. They want to be a big dog. Well, if you're a big dog, you can't just have Rice and SMU and Lamar on your schedule, unapologetically on your schedule. I mean, we got Bob Stoops up there. They went to Tennessee and played this year. We have Notre Dame playing against Texas, Minnesota playing TCU.
Play Wisconsin. We understand that.
Yeah, I mean, so other people do this. This is for Baylor and Baylor alone, forcing them for a little bit more strength in that schedule to help the Big 12.
I applaud the Big 12 for doing this. I think all the conferences, which I think with the exception of the Pac-12, have put this rule in place right now, and I agree with you with Baylor and Kansas. I think Baylor and Kansas, the only teams next year that doesn't have a team outside their conference, outside of the Power 5 conference on their schedule
I
this year.
understand Kansas.
There should be more uniformity across the board when it comes to college football if you're going to have a correct system. And I know it's flawed, and they're trying to fix it, and it's a playoff system, and we're getting there, but there's still so much work to do. You should only have one FCS school on your schedule if you're part of that Power 5, so you can have a little bit more uniformity. And on top of that, just to add a little bit more, every conference should have a championship game or do away with the championship game whatsoever. So the Big 12, they need to get with the system right now and go ahead and have that Big 12 championship game so that there is more uniformity.
Well, then they need more teams, because they have a round robin right now because they're the only ones that play everybody in the conference. So everybody has their little argument. And be careful the way you want to fix college football and get uniformity, because part of what's great about college football is the argument that we get to have.
The Big 12 has announced it will require conference football programs to annually play at least one non-conference game against a power conference institution.
Now think about this, Christine.
There's more, but go ahead with that.
The Big 12 and the Pac-10, or Pac-12, they already make you play 9 games in conference. SEC's 8. So you already have to play one less cupcake in the Big 12 and the Pac-12. And now the Big 12's saying, on top of that, you got to go schedule, I tell you whose phone's ringing off the hook this morning, Purdue. God, everybody in the Big 12 is like, what's Purdue's phone number? You now have to play an extra conference game than the SEC and no cupcake. You have to do at least one legitimate Power 5 team. I love this by the Big 12.
And additionally, no Big 12 program shall play more than one game annually against a non-FBS opponent, which is, I think that's important too.
I think that's great.
So the new scheduling requirement does not impact existing non-conference game contracts. But we don't know quite yet when this is being put into effect.
Can you imagine what Baylor's AD is saying this morning? Good golly, I don't know what I'm going to do now.
Everyone thinks that all football players are tough. Now, this is not a brawl. They're just breaking it up.
Right.
But just watch one guy on Texas. A little push and a little shove. But watch number 60. Oh, you want some of me, boy? Okay, come on over here. Come on over. Come on, put it up. Oh, they got close. Oh, come on. I'm going to take my helmet off. Come get some. Come get some. Oh, look at my setup. Oh, we're getting close. Let me.
And then we don't have the end of it.
It's unreal for those that aren't watching this. You have Baylor and Texas. Again, it's a pushing and shoving, breaking up thing, and there's a ton of people on the field. This number 16 kid,
skilled guy, either a receiver or DB.
Oh yeah, he's a little guy. He steps in and puts his hands up like he's going to fight. Takes his helmet off, which is one of the dumbest things you could ever possibly do in a situation like that, and then the whole scrum starts to get near him. He immediately reaches to put his helmet back on
and starts to run
the other way. I mean, to take your helmet off is one of the dumbest things there, but dude's trying to be so tough, and then we found out he was a paper tiger.
Come on, man.